Be sharing my screen shortly. I'm hoping we can all see my screen. Skylar, are we able to see my screen?
It's visible.
Yes, thank you. Now, work, visibility, and growth. Turn your experience into your next opportunity. I think this is a very powerful topic, especially especially for all of us that are in the job market. And as being in the job market basically means that we really want to grow, and growth is something that any professional will need. And even as we talk about growth, by the end of this session, we should be able to connect your current work and experience to your career aspirations. Most of us as professionals or as job seekers, one of the things that we do is that most of us, around 70% of us, we are there for any job as long as we've seen the amount, the kind of salary that is being given. We'll want that job any day, anytime. Identify the skills and experiences you need to develop to your next level. So growth is key. And even as you grow, what skills do you need? What gaps do you have in your current skill set? And what do you need to do for you to be able to match the next level you want to move to? Number 3, we need to, the end of this session, we should be able to use feedback and continuous learning to deliberately improve our value. Make your work and achievement visible to the right people. That is also key. Build relationships that support your career growth. Turn your experience and visibility into real opportunities. Now, my first question will be, how many of us have mentors? How many of us have mentors? I think that is a key question that you can just raise your hand if you have a mentor. That's a key question that we need to ask even before we proceed. What are we doing about our careers? I can see Momo raise the hand. What are we doing about our careers? What are we doing for us to grow to the next level? Now, how do I get, before you start to get to your destination, you need to ask yourself, how do I get to the opportunity? You need to ask, before you ask, how do I get the opportunity? Ask, what opportunity am I preparing for? And that is the key question for any job seeker, because we don't just work to pay our bills. You work so that you can be able to achieve your career aspirations and be able to even develop yourself. So your career aspirations should influence the experiences you pursue today. You need to ask yourself these 5 key questions. Where do I want to be in the next 2 to 3 years? That is question number 1. What role or area do I want to grow into? What do I want to be known for? That's another question. What does someone in that role need to be able to do? What does my current experience does my current experience move me closer to that role? So where do I want to be in the next 2 to 3 years? That is now your career goal. So when you have a clear career path, you can be able to tell where you want to be in the next 2 to 3 years. And how many of us have clear career goals? How many of us will apply for any job? How many of us are in teaching that will apply for accounting or admin jobs? Yeah. What role do I want to grow into? Before you apply for that position that you want to apply for, would you ask yourself these questions? A good number of us do not ask ourselves this question. What happens is that you just see an email and forward your CV without even reading the instructions. Does that mean that you don't have a clear career path? Does that mean that you don't know where you want to move to next? Someone looking at your CV should be able to tell that Karen wants to grow from a HR assistant to a HR officer, HR manager. Your CV should be able to tell that, not someone reaching out to you and asking you this question. Your CV should be able to show that. Your LinkedIn profile should be able to show that. Because that is where you've branded yourself. And even as you brand yourself, you should be able to brand yourself in a way that someone looking at your brand can be able to tell that so and so has this clear career goal. So and so is working on ABC, and so and so can be associated with 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that what we speak to the potential employers or the potential business people that you want to meet? What do I want to be known for? Now you're building a brand. Even as you grow, what do you want to be known for? I know some of us will say that the industry is vast, and some of the things that they want to be known for has been taken up by others. That is not the truth. That is a lie, because anything, as long as you commit to doing something, you should be able to come out clearly as a brand in what you're doing. So working on yourself is key thing that, and building something that you'll want people to know you for does not take a day, does not take a week, does not take a month. It takes consistent and so much hard work that you have to put in for people to be able to know, to notice you for something specific. If you want to know someone on issues of employability, what do you want to do? What should you do to get there? You need to be able to commit yourself, whether it is learning, whether it's supporting people, whether it's volunteering, for you to be able to be known for what you do. What does someone in that role need to do? Need to be able to do? Now, when you're planning for career growth, when you have a clear career goal, what needs to happen is that if you are an HR assistant now or you're an accounts assistant now, what you should be looking at, you should be looking at accountant adverts, or you should be looking at a HR officer advert. What is it that a HR officer can do that me as an assistant is unable to do? So that even as you plan to apply for those positions, you don't have to plan to grow. You are working on ensuring that whatever that role wants you to do is something that you can comfortably handle. Even as you go for an interview, you should be able to tell us that you are previously, you've started practicing on doing this in your current role or in your previous role. So this is something that you can comfortably handle. Does my current experience move me closer? As I've said, in your current role now, you should be able to, when looking at your next career growth step, sorry, you should be able to look at the gaps that you have. Is it my experience? Is it my the certifications? Is it the professional affiliations that are keeping me backwards? What do I want to need, or what do I need to do for me to be able to get closer to the role that I really want to move into? So that should come out very clearly. And even as you plan your next step, you should be able to ensure that you have had short-term goals and you have having a long-term goal that should be able to get you there. So if you are looking at a career in the next 3 to 5 years, that means it's a long-term goal. And for you to be able to achieve the long-term goals, you need to set short-term goals that can help you get there. And by short-term goals, I mean that now things like certification, because I've said that there are gaps, there'll always be gaps between your current career or current position and the next position. So you should be able to bridge these gaps now. You can only bridge these gaps now through having the short-term goals, because career-wise, what you have is a long-term goal. And for you to achieve a long-term goal, you'll need the short-term goals that can help you get there. So build the skills your future requires. Once you know where you are going, identify what you're missing by looking at the 3 areas. Number 1, what I have. What skills do I have? Looking at the current skills, your current skill set, your current experience. In my current skill set, what skill is needed for me to get to the next level that I don't have? Once you realize that maybe, for example, you have maybe your next level needs you to have skills in data analysis or skills in HR analytics. So you need now to start acquiring those skills for you to be able to get there? Is it experience? You see most adverts. Today I was joking in one of the groups, in one of the HR groups, where someone was asking for an intern that is yet to graduate, and they need them to have 1 year experience. So I asked them, is it just, are you just looking for a finance assistant on budget, or you are sure of what you're looking at? Because an intern who is yet to graduate, how will you expect them to have 1 year experience? So most adverts will ask for experience. We are looking for 2 years experience, 3 years experience. One thing that I said last Tuesday and I still maintain is that in very rare occasions, you will find that you fit 100% of the job qualifications. In most cases, you'll find that you have up to 60, 70%. If you do, go ahead and apply for that position. If it is experience that is denying you an opportunity and there to have the academic qualifications and maybe a bit of experience, maybe some of the certifications that they're keen on, apply for that position and go to that interview confidently and prove to them that you're the person that they are looking for. Number 2, what I need, skills required for my desired role, the industry knowledge. In most cases, you'll find that people are looking for opportunities, yes, and you'll see, especially the sales industry, where now you're asking that you're looking for someone with 5 years experience in the hospitality industry. Industry knowledge is sometimes important in some of the roles, but in other roles it might not really matter. For example, I've given an example of sales roles. In most cases, people in sales are hired because they have a portfolio that they have built, and the potential employer expects you to move with this portfolio. So what kind of exposure do I need? Yeah, in terms of the skill set, in terms of maybe meetings, in terms of stakeholder management, in terms of board relations, does that opportunity give you that exposure? So look at what the role requires and then be able to look at what you need to get for you to get there. Does it need the leadership and the technical capabilities? Is it something that you're lacking? If you are lacking these leadership and technical capabilities, how can you gain them? There are several organizations that are offering leadership training, and then look at the technical capability. What kind of technical skills are needed so that you can be able to acquire them, whether it's through volunteering, whether it's through taking opportunities on part-time basis. You should be able to get there and then highlight the key skills that they're looking for in your CV well. What I'll do, I'll upskill to get the new skills that I'm keen on, take on new responsibilities, learn from others. This you can do mentorship, or you can volunteer in a different organization or in the same organization that you are in. Then seek practical experience through part-time engagements as well. They can get you, help you get there. So make your work build your career. So not every task automatically creates your career growth. Not every task automatically creates career growth. I'll ask this question. How long do you need to be in one position before you make a move? Then someone will ask, I'm sure someone will ask, how long should I be in one organization before I make a move? So those are questions that we need to think about even as we talk about career growth. In most cases, I've had people in interviews tell us that, why do you want to leave? Opportunity, you're looking for opportunity for growth. Most cases, most of you will respond that they are keen on growth. So look at what gives you new skills. That's now growth. A role that gives you new skills, greater responsibility. That is also a response that you get most of the time in interviews. exposure to different teams. Um, there's a time that I met someone and she's a HR and I asked her what the company does and if she had ever stepped on the shop floor just to see what the processes that are involved. And most people will tell you that they don't know what happens in the shop floor, in the manufacturing floor. And that's why in HR we had a role, the HRBP role introduced, because you need to understand the business. You need to understand all the processes so that you can be able to, even as someone, we talk about exposure to different teams, you can be able to tell what happens in stage A, stage B, stage C, and even stage D, even before the sales or the dispatch. So you should be in any company, you should be able to, if you have an opportunity, you should be able to get exposure to all these teams so that you understand what happens in the business. Now, by you understanding what happens in the business, it also gives you an opportunity for you to grow. Most people have grown to general managers. Most people have grown to production managers because they were able to understand the whole process in an organization. The problem-solving experience is what you also need to look at. What that new role should give you. And then it will also give you leadership opportunities. And then it will as well give you evidence of results. So you need to ask yourself, what am I learning here that will make me more valuable tomorrow? That is the question we need to ask ourselves anytime we are getting into a new organization or anytime we are getting a new responsibility. What am I learning here that will make me more valuable tomorrow? So when you talk about you moving from organization A to organization B, it means that you are a valuable asset to that organization. So what value am I carrying to the new organization? So that should always be the question before you make a decision to move from organization A to organization B. Then you need to use feedback as a career tool. You need to use feedback as a career tool. When you talk about feedback will help you identify the gap between how you see yourself, how others see you, and who you need to become. And then as you use feedback, we need to ask ourselves these 5 key questions. What am I doing well? What could I improve? So you're looking at your strengths, you're looking at your weaknesses. What could I improve on? These are your weaknesses, or an area that you feel you really need to improve and it's critical in your area, in your career. What skills should I develop next? Now, the feedback should be able to help you respond to these questions. What will make me ready for greater responsibility? What is that one thing that I should do differently? So all these questions are in response to the feedback that you've gotten. We've said that feedback should be able to tell how you see yourself, how others experience you, and who you need to become next. So what you're doing well is your strength, and you should keep on doing that. What you need to improve could be an area that is very critical in your position, and you're not doing it well. So you must commit yourself to do it well. So whether it means that you're going to get that extra skill, whether you need to go for mentorship, whether you need to go for training for you to be able to deliver well. What skills should I develop next? So you're looking at your current status and now the next step you're going to take. What skills should you develop for you to get there? What will make me ready for greater responsibility? As you respond during interviews, most of you that I'm keen on growth and greater responsibility. Some of the roles will give you an opportunity to for greater responsibility because you find that you've been doing same thing over and over. You get bored, and now you really need a greater responsibility. You feel that what the skills that you've gained are not being utilized well. Now you need to move to the next step and get that greater responsibility that you can deliver even better. Feedback as the driver for change. So you have feedback, then feedback will create awareness. And then from awareness, you should be able to take action. As you take action, you adapt, and then there's growth. So awareness basically means you understand the gap between where you are, how others experience you, and where you need to be. Then the action you take should turn feedback into a specific change. So that you improve a skill, you change a behavior. If it's a behavior that is making you not deliver, or is a behavior that's making you not grow, address a weakness that you have. We've talked about what areas you need to improve on. Then take on a new approach. So as you take action, you are using your weakness, or you are using that feedback that you got for you to be able to act on that feedback. So whether the feedback is a skill you need to improve, whether the feedback is your behavior that is affecting your growth, or whether the feedback is a weakness, maybe in terms of, for example, you have a weakness in public speaking, and your next your next step means that now maybe you'll be giving more of presentation. So you need to work on that weakness that you have. So I've just given an example of those of us that are not good at public speaking, or you have weakness in that. So you need to address that weakness and then be able to take on that new approach. And as you adapt, you keep planning and adjusting your role, workplace, and aspirations will also evolve. There are people that started in a different field, and along the way, you find that there's something that you like in a certain field, and then you plan on transitioning. There are people that have successfully transitioned, but most what is difficult is for those of us that have been in the industry for a long time. They find it so hard to transition. And even as you plan to transition, you should be able to look at the skill set that is needed in the next step, and then start preparing early enough for you, so that you can, even as you transition, you then get tough times. So good work isn't always enough. This is something that we need to know. Good work isn't always enough. So do the work, prove the value, and make it known. So number one thing, what did I actually do? Your contribution. So you need to move beyond your job description. Identify the specific problems you solved, responsibilities you took on, and the value you added. And that's why when talking about your impact in an organization, it should always be quantified, so that we understand that I had this impact in this organization, and this is the change that it brought about. Talk about the responsibilities you took on and the value added in that organization. And then as you talk about the value added, we are talking about now the impact that you brought in that organization. So there should be evidence of that. That is number two. What changed because of your work? So now we are talking about the evidence. When you're talking about you developing a system, when you're talking about you recommending a system in an organization, when you're talking about you saving costs, operational costs in an organization, what evidence do we have? Can it be talked about? When you talk about you being able to reduce company, talk about company debts, or company creditors, company debts. We're talking about you having reduced company debts from maybe 50% to 30%, or 50% or 10%. Are you able to show that evidence? So you need to capture the results, the improvements, especially the numbers, having the numbers, talk about the numbers, and then the outcomes that demonstrate your contribution in that organization. Then as we do that, as we work on the evidence, as we give the evidence, who knows about it? The visibility. Make your contribution known to the people who need to understand your value, whether they're managers, whether they're colleagues, mentors, or your professional network. So based on your position, as you give evidence of what you did, someone somewhere in that organization should be able to tell that this is evident because Patrick did it. This is evident because Carol did it. So you should be able to show your evidence, and then be able to present it to the right people, so that they can be able to understand your value and see the contribution that you have made in that position. So who needs to know your value? As you talk about visibility. So visibility is not about being seen by everyone. It's about being known by the right people. I've talked about you aligning your evidence or you aligning your achievements to the right people. So who are the people that need to see that whatever you did is evident and whatever you did is valuable to the organization? So number one, I should be the managers and decision makers who influence your growth. Whether you are an HR assistant, whether you are an intern, you should be able to, especially when you coming in with a very important achievement or a very important impact. You've done a bigger impact in the organization. Should be able to come up and show that evidence to the right people. I know I had a question during one of my engagements with the universities. There's a student that asked that they came up. There's an intern that had an that had was an attachment, and she made a recommendation, and one of the managers took that recommendation. One of the managers took that recommendation. One of the managers, sorry for that. One of the managers took that recommendation as their own, and so it was tough for this person to claim that recommendation. So sometimes it happens that we deliver, but we are not noticed. Yeah, we deliver, but we are not noticed. So how you align yourself even as you deliver, or how you align yourself even as you make this impact, you should be very keen to ensure that it reaches the right people and even make this known. Whether you need to do an email, whether you need to copy those bosses, you should do that so that you have that value aligned to the right, known to the right people, and it should be on. You take the ownership of that impact. So sideways, we need colleagues as well and peers who experience your work and shape your reputation to know about the value that you've brought. Outward, we'll need professional networks, mentors, and industry connections who can expose you to new opportunities. And the most common network we use is LinkedIn. Some people have posted their achievements of their value on LinkedIn, and the right people have been able to reach out and give them other opportunities. So you should make this an intentional decision, even as you bring value, so that now you broadcast this value to the right people and the right audience. So build relationships before you need them. Even as you work on growth, you build relationships before you need them. You don't start talking about relationships the same time you need them. So opportunities often come through people who know your work, trust your character, and understand your potential. And as often said that 70% of opportunities are never advertised. 70% of opportunities are just within your networks. So when you build relationships with people who can expand your perspective, expose you to new experiences, and help you understand what is possible in your field, is the most important thing for any professional, because there are opportunities that you'll never see them online advertised. Sometimes you are so busy that you even don't get time to look at the LinkedIn profiles, or even don't get time to look at the job boards on WhatsApp and other platforms. But when you have someone that has trusted you because you build a relationship, they know your value, they know the kind of qualifications you have, they know that you are seeking, they know that you are someone that can make an impact in the organization, it becomes so easy for them to refer you and give that opportunity. So for mentors and leaders, we need to learn from their experiences, seek guidance, and understand what it takes to progress. Mentors are people that will tell you their story and will be motivated by their story, and even feel more inspired for you to get to their level and even go beyond. So how you do this is for us. And when I started, I asked the question, how many of us have mentors? I know some of us do not have mentors. We need to get mentors so that they can be able to, through their story, through their inspiration, we can really believe that you can do it. So colleagues and peers will collaborate, share knowledge, and build a reputation for being reliable and valuable. Sometimes I see some quotes that You don't have friends at work. You are all at work. Go to work, do your work, and go home. Some extent it makes sense, but some extent it doesn't make sense because your colleagues are the people that can broadcast your value, especially if you are good with teamwork, where you collaborate on every stage and where team effort is needed for you to be able to achieve that company objectives. So your colleagues become a key part of your career. So industry professionals, learn about your field, emerging opportunities and skills employers are looking for. Industry professional will be able to help you do this. Sometimes we have trends in our professions, but some of us don't realize because maybe we are not members of our professional networks. We are not members of professional associations, or we are not members of even WhatsApp groups where these opportunities or these trends are shared. You end up learning from your peers because maybe there's been a change in some legislations that are key in your area. But because you are someone, maybe you're too busy or you're an introvert, you don't like joining groups, you end up not getting this information. So former colleagues and classmates, maintain connections. Today's colleague or classmate may become tomorrow's hiring manager, collaborator, or reference source. For me, I always believe that any network, anyone is very useful in our career journey. Someone might not be at your level, but they can recommend a business for you. Yeah, someone might be too junior to you, but still give you opportunities. Someone might be a CEO, you've connected with them, they might refer you for an opportunity in the organization. I remember there's a lady that I referred for a job. There used to be another company called, they used to be a Chinese company who used to sell mobile phones. And they had branches in Nairobi, Nakuru, and I think Mombasa. And one thing they did, there's a lady that I referred for an opportunity in that organization. And this lady used to sell phones, and there's a client that comes and asks her, what are the difference between Samsung and Infinix, which phone is good and why? So this lady explains very committed in a committed way, and the client asks the lady that have you done any course, and the lady tells her that I've done a BBIT course and not gotten any job. So this client gives the lady a card and tells the lady to call her the following day. The lady calls her, the client asks her to send her CV, and the interview took long, about 3-4 months. And the lady within that, after the interview, she got the opportunity. She was earning around 20,000 for the from this shop, and maybe some a little of some commissions. So she got from 20,000, she got to a salary of 120 within the shortest time possible. And through that, because of her commitment and even not knowing that there was something that like that would come in, she was just doing her job the right way, ensuring that she gives the right client the right information. But because this client felt that the information that she was being given was so honest, she gave her an opportunity. So sometimes our colleagues or the clients that we serve might be the opener for our next opportunity. So turn visibility into opportunity. So the purpose of building a strong reputation and making your value known is to create access to opportunities for growth. The purpose of building a strong reputation and making your value known is for you to create access to opportunities for growth. Like whatever the story I've just given, this lady built a strong reputation with the client and made her value known, and that is how she was able to assess a big opportunity for growth. I think 7 years down the line, the lady is still working in that organization, and she's really grown to senior manager. So once people recognize your contribution, take the next step instead of waiting to be approached. We are often told that you show up, you don't wait for opportunities. Opportunities will never look for you. So you need to show up. So take that, the next step, and show your value And even as people approach you, at least you've shown up and you are able to ensure that you have a clear mindset and you have a clear value that you bring on board in any organization. So some of the values we show, our cognition, we look at it mostly on our social media platforms, basically LinkedIn. For us as professionals, LinkedIn is key for us to even show our contribution and have people follow believe in what we can offer, and then give us opportunities. Ask for greater responsibility when you are ready to handle more. In most cases, for those of us that are working, in most cases, when you ask for greater responsibility or when you are given any extra responsibility, we want it to match with whatever you are earning. Sometimes it's not always about money. Sometimes it is about the next step that you want to take. So you might ask for greater responsibility without asking for more money, so that it can prepare you for the next step. So volunteer for projects or assignments that give you relevant exposure, especially for those of us that are working as interns or the volunteers, or those of us that are starting to their career. Sometimes you might get into an organization that might not give you the full exposure to some of the roles. And even as you work in this organization, you should be able to ask for a bigger responsibility. For example, you are in HR and you've not been shown how to manage approve leave, not been shown how people need to apply for this leave, not been shown how performance management is done. You stick to maybe you've been given a role in filing. So you are always working on filing, and once you're done with filing, you get your TikTok, scroll as you wait for more files to come so that you can work on them. You should be able to get outside that department or that office and move to another office so that you can be able to get more exposure in that field. Ask for recommendations or referrals from people who know your work. The biggest beneficiaries of recommendations are the people that have been able to really prove that they can work. So recommendations, I can only recommend you when I'm sure that you are the person that can deliver, when I'm sure that the work you're doing is work that brings value. I know of a few people that I've interacted with that I'm very sure that once they get to an interview, they'll always go through, unless it's an issue about salary. But there are people that have positioned themselves so well to an extent that the only thing that denies them an opportunity is not getting to the interview room. But once they get to the interview room, I'm sure they'll get the next opportunity. So put yourself forward for promotions, roles, and opportunities aligned with aspirations. I've always told my mentees that one thing you should never turn down is an opportunity to lead. An opportunity to lead gives you opportunities that you will have never gotten. An opportunity to lead will take you to rooms or tables that you will have never imagined. You will bring you close to people that you will have never imagined in your wildest dream that you'll ever meet. So promotions, leadership roles you should never say no to them. Unless it's something that you really don't want to do, unless it is something that you're being set up. But if it's something that is genuine, always make sure that you take the leadership positions and even promotions. So recognition creates success, action creates progress. So you can be writing your questions in the chat section. I'll be tackling the questions once I'm done with the presentation. So as we conclude, your next opportunity starts with what you do today. That is something that should be very intentional. Know where you want to go. And I'm sure that most of the professions that I've asked, sometimes I advertise positions where I need to refer someone. And the moment someone sees that you have this opportunity that you need to refer, people send you CVs, and you look at someone's CV and ask them, where do you want to go next? Yeah. Are you sure this is an opportunity that you want now? So knowing where you want to go is very key for any professional to make sure that it is something they have a clear path. Yeah. This is where I want to go next. And or when you give me this opportunity, it will help me navigate to this and this. So that question should always be answered anytime you're sending your CV. Then build skills to get you where you want to go. Then number 3, you need to use feedback to keep growing. Get the feedback and use this feedback to move you to the next step. Make your value visible to the relevant people, then build relationships that opens doors. So you need to be ready, you need to be visible, and you need to ask questions so that by asking questions, you can get the feedback that is needed for you to grow to the next step. Thank you so much. I'll be here to take any questions that you have. Maybe start with the chat section. So you mean you've not been seeing the slides? I can see some people in the chat section have not been seeing the slides. Anyone with a question? Karen, you have a question?
No, it's not a question, Jay.
Yes.
Actually, the question that I wanted to ask, it was in the first slide, but unfortunately, you pulled down all the slides. So you've been moving without the slides. But meanwhile, let me download what I wanted to ask, and then I'll ask you.
So sorry. Let me just share the slides again, maybe, so that someone can be able to ask a question on the same.
Hey, I can ask a question on their behalf as you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
One of the questions I have encountered, and I know you have encountered, it is the question, and you've mentioned, it is the question of introverts complaining that even if I go to networking events, I don't like talking to people. How can they have a mindset change that it's important to have those skills, regardless of your personality structure, that it is whether you are an introvert or extrovert, you need to have networking skills, because as you've rightly said, 60% of the jobs, Nile J, give me 10 CVs, Richard,
Yes.
give me 5 CVs. You will not see them in the newspaper, you will not see them on WhatsApp. So people end up missing opportunities. What skills do the introvert personalities need so that they can be able to network well, so that they don't miss opportunities?
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard, for that question. And as you've said, I've really encountered this, and this it affects most people because they lose out on opportunities. Now, one thing is that if you're an introvert, if the introvert personality, I will advise that you look for other ways that you can be able to communicate your value. And one of the ways that you can communicate your value is through social media. Now, I've seen people that have developed their brands on LinkedIn. I've seen people that have developed their brands on other social media platforms, and even people that are introverts, because now they're able to communicate well, maybe through writing. So even as you do this through writing, someone now can be able to see your value through what you've written on social media, and then they can make a decision on whether to hire you or give you an opportunity in an interview. So I will advise that people adopt other, for those that are introvert, they can adopt other forms of communication or forms of communicating their value, and then let other people realize. Now, even as an introvert in an organization, there are people that will still know your value. So these people are, they might be colleagues, they might be your managers, they might be your mentees. They know your value, and as well, they can be able to communicate this value to someone else, or they can be able to use the information they have to help you through referrals. Anyone else with a question? Currently, I'm working in a company, but career-wise, I feel there is a limitation. At times, I find myself doing the same things repeatedly. My current job description is quite far from what I'm qualified for academically. In such a situation, what will be your advice? Should I continue building experience where I am, or start looking for opportunities that align more with my qualification and career goals? Now, one thing, the reason we are having tonight's session is because we're looking at how you can be able to grow in your career. Now, if your current opportunity is not giving you that, if you're not getting that vibe of career growth in your current position, then it means it's time for you to move. Then, even as you move, what are your career goals? So, your career goals should be what should drive you to the next position. So, if you're currently working in a position where you feel that there's no fulfillment, there's no satisfaction, then it means that you are in a wrong job, and or you as an individual do not have clear career goals. So, start by developing, looking at what you want to be tomorrow in the next 2-3 years. Once you understand what you want to be in the next 2-3 years, you can now easily move or make a decision on how to move. So, as you plan to move, you need to ensure that your goals or what you want to do next aligns with what the skills that you have, or you need, if there's a gap, then you need to bridge that gap skills wise, or experience wise, or industry wise, and then be able to get to that goal. So, how do you deal with that? Toxic jobs, please help. Also, how to deal with work politics. Now, I mentioned a statement that now, when you talk about toxic environment, it is something that is affecting most of us, and so you might find that some organizations are not handling the toxicity at the workplace. So, for me, I always say that no one is ever tied to an organization unless you are the owner of that organization. For example, I've had people come at JCVs and leave. I'm the only one that has been at JCVs for all that time. So if someone comes at JCVs and they feel that JCVs is a toxic workplace, they are not tied to JCVs. They have an opportunity and free will to leave. So if you're in a toxic work environment, it's up to you to make a decision that I'm in a toxic work environment and I need, for the sake of my mental wellness, I need to leave. So you start looking for an opportunity. You don't, unless it is very necessary, don't leave an opportunity. Don't leave your toxic work environment before you get another opportunity. And even now, as you look for other opportunities, you need to be very strategic. You need to be very intentional, so that even as you move to the next organization, you need to look at the culture before you get to that organization. Then, if you work in an organization where no one supervises you, no one supervises, how do you know you perform? Now, any organization, I can see Zainab has talked about the companies still has you on board. That's feedback number one. Number two, narrow down your skills. Are you meeting them with your KPIs? Can actually evaluate yourself. Thank you so much, Zainab, for that response. The same way I was going to respond, that what determines if you're performing or not performing is the KPIs that you have. So if you're meeting your KPIs, then it means you are performing, and you need to meet and even exceed them, so that you can actually know that you are performing. And if you have no one to supervise you, then it means that this is an organization that might not have clear structures, or an organization that might not be undertaking performance appraisals. The other question is also, how can you deal with progress where in your station you manage yourself? Let's say maybe your supervisor is in Nairobi and your station in Naivasha. They only visit once in 3 months. The reports you send are always fixed. Nothing spies up. They call it Madoido. Now, I think this question relates to the question that I've just responded to, and the one that Zainab responded to as well. So now, if you have clear KPIs, as we've said, the KPIs should determine the kind of performance you're getting. Whether you need to improve now, you can personally assess your performance based on the KPIs that you have, so that now you know areas of improvement. We talked about areas of improvement. We talked about what skill you need to work on next. We talked about what weakness you need to work on. So your KPIs should be able to tell you the kind of skills you need, the kind of weaknesses that you need to solve. You have spoken about value, and the question hit my mind. What is value, and how do you know you carry or have value? Now, value as an individual, the value bring in an organization. Let me put it in simpler terms. There are people that an organization loses, and you feel, and you'll hear either the boss saying that we have lost an important person in our organization. That means that these people were bringing value. Now, if you're good in what you do as an individual, if you're good at what you do, to an extent that you get recognition in an organization, or you might get recognition through maybe other forms. For example, we have awards or recognitions where they're talking about someone that has a top 50, under 50, where they're talking about people that have had that kind of big influence in the organization. Now, in most cases, when you talk about value, we are meaning that you are the person that is able to meet your KPIs and be able to maintain or even exceed them. So you are bringing value in your specific area. If they are talking about ensuring that deadlines are met, that is value that you are talking about. And as you meet deadlines, ensure that deadlines are met in the organization. You also ensure that even as you exit, it's making a positive impact in the organization. So if value aligns with the impact you are bringing on board, so you might have the KPIs and meet the KPIs and exceed them, and also now have a bigger impact to the overall goal of the organization. So whether it's customer retention, that is value that you bring on board. So based on different positions in the organization, based on your position in that organization, there's value that you bring on board. Does it mean that you can't tap into growth spaces by just being valuable and delivering in your roles? Where is the line between visibility and seeking validation? Now, when you talk about visibility is now when you are able to exceed or deliver an impact in an organization. Now, in most cases, you find that you have a supervisor, and then where we have clear structures, you have a supervisor, the supervisor as a manager. So the ladder goes that way. So even as things happen in the organization, there'll always be a reporting line. The supervisor, your immediate supervisor should be able to know that Jay is the one that is behind this kind of app in our organization. So now the value, your visibility will grow. The supervisor will make a report to the manager will make a report to the directors, and then the senior management. So they'll be able to know that is now visibility. You have been able to. Now, when you are seeking validation, you are doing things because you want to please someone. But with visibility, you are doing things because it is your duty. It is your duty for you to ensure that you deliver and meet your KPIs. So validation is doing things to please someone. So that is where there's the difference. I think that was our last question from the chat section. Unless someone else has a question, I can see we are already at 9. Do you have anyone else with a question? In regard to your presentation, Mr. Lemba, I've examined myself and I feel that I really need mentorship, and you are the right person to help this because my CV and LinkedIn requires revamp. Please advise on how we can work around. I'll share my contact in the chat section. Anyone that will want to reach out to me can be able to reach out. I will as well share our JCV's channel link here, so that anyone that is seeking, anyone that has opportunities can be able to share with us in that channel. And as we finalize, I will I will welcome Richard.